Trigger Minnow. We got one on the Trigger Minnow. We're just getting started. We're just getting started, guys. Oh, no, you're good. Go fight somebody.
He'll attract the big one for me.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, isn't that big? You look bigger in the net, didn't you? Yeah. Now that's how you win it, right around the jaw. Right there, guys. Trigger Minnow. Woo! Howdy guys, Kellogg here. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're not already a subscriber, please take a second to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, and you'll always know when I'm on here on YouTube talking about fishing strategy. And that's what we're going to do right now. That fish you saw caught in the beginning of this video was caught on this bait right here. That is one of my Trigger Minnows. It's a very good shad imitation, very good smelt imitation, just a very good minnow imitation all the way around. But that's not the bait I started out the day fishing. And I always get a lot of questions about when do you change baits? What's your strategy, when you change baits? And I've been teaching these points a lot on the boat recently. Now, I started out the day with the bait that had been producing a lot of fish for me. The Pink Trout Tricks Worm, trolling it accompanied with the action disc at about 1.8 miles an hour. Okay, after a couple hours, we'd gotten some hits on this, but it was clear that this wasn't really tickling the trout's fancy, so to speak. I'd had great results the day before, but on this particular day, they just weren't taking the trout tricks very well. So it was time to change baits. Now, here comes the strategy part. I didn't throw, the baby out the window with the bath water. I didn't say, I've been going 1.8 with this worm, and now I'm gonna bust out, a number 14 Rapala and troll 4.5, 5 miles an hour. What my strategy usually is making incremental changes, and those changes can be incremental depth changes, color changes, or bait changes. I didn't vary my speed, I didn't vary my depth because the water temperature was stable. I figured the fish were still at the same depth they'd been at the day before. I started playing with some different baits. I put on a Trigger Minnow, which has a different action than the Trout Tricks. It actually has less action. It's more of a hardcore minnow imitation. And as you can see, much subtler in terms of color. I put this out within about 15 minutes. We got the first fish on the Trigger Minnow. Okay, what do I do now? This is how you build a pattern. And this is really important if you are gonna maximize the bite windows that you stumble upon. So one fish, that could be chance. You can catch one fish on anything. When I got the second fish on this bait, that earned a second Trigger Minnow in the spread. When I got a third fish on the Trigger Minnow, that earned a third Trigger Minnow in the spread. I was building a pattern. I'd figured out that they preferred the Trigger Minnow over the Trout Tricks or just about anything else in my arsenal, and I started stacking the deck with Trigger Minnows because I wanted to maximize the bite while the fish were still biting. Now remember, it's because the fish are biting now, an hour from now, they may go off the bite. I don't typically change around my gear when that happens. I wait it out when the fish go back on the bite. If I was catching them on a Trigger Minnow or a Trout Tricks or whatever, chances are I'm going to be able to catch those fish on the same bait. The only thing that makes me really change baits after the bite has stopped is a conditional change. I was out, last week, and in the morning it was overcast. I was getting fish on black flies. After a lunch break, we came back out, had a high sky, lots of sun, a little chop. I got rid of the black fly, replaced it with a smaller white fly, and caught some very nice fish on that. But the thing to take away from this is, one, when you make changes to your spread, make those changes incrementally. If you're fishing by yourself and you have a 2-rod sticker here in California, keep one rod rigged up with a bait that has worked in the past, the recent past, or something that you have a high level of confidence in, and use that other rod to play with. Now, when I'm out with a group of anglers, I typically run 4 rods. That gives me 2 rods that I will troll confidence baits on. In the case on that trip I was just talking about, that was 2 Pink Trout Tricks Worms, and it gives me 2 rods to play around with. Now, when those rods I was playing around with and experimenting with started out producing the trout tricks, I started stacking the deck with those Trigger Minnows. Anyway, that's all I got to say for now.